How can a student prepare for a college interview? I'm Andy Lockwood, and this is another installment of Fact Us Friday, the show where we answer one frequently asked question every week, every Friday. Okay, so Andy Lockwood, Lockwood College Prep. I get this question a lot. I'm recording this in November, but the college interview season happens from, I guess, November till the beginning of the spring, potentially. But here's the deal with college interviews, they really don't matter. What I mean by that is today's college interview is typically done with an alum, not with an admissions officer. Now, there are a few colleges that still conduct admissions interviews. Wake Forest is one that comes to mind. And then there are numerous sort of smaller liberal arts colleges that still conduct interviews. But for the most part, if you apply to an Ivy League school and you get an interview, that doesn't mean that they've chosen you. That means you got an interview because everyone who applies to an Ivy League school gets an interview with an alumnus or an alumna so that they can keep those alums in the fold. That's the thing about college interviews with alumni. They're not really done to benefit the applicant, although it is a good opportunity to ask questions, get some additional information that you didn't know, but by then you've already applied. So it's not going to necessarily influence your decision to apply or not. But instead, what these application interviews do is keep the alumni feeling that they're part of the community and engaged and loyal to their alma mater and committed, by acting in this capacity as someone who is speaking on behalf of the university, of course, unpaid. But what that does psychologically to the interviewer is make them feel part of that herd, part of that group. I can tell you firsthand, well, I guess secondhand from my wife and one of her best friends who each interviewed for their Ivy League uh, alma maters, and everyone else that I know, it's the same old story. They talk to so many highly qualified applicants. They're blown away by each person they interview. They heartily recommend them to that admissions committee, and then the kid doesn't get in because the odds of getting in at all these colleges, particularly the Ivies and other highly selective colleges, are very long. So basically, that interview doesn't really hold any sway over your candidacy at that particular college, unless of course you totally blow it. Maybe you don't make eye contact, or you don't show up on time, or you are, you're looking down your phone the whole time. Of course, you or your kid wouldn't do that, but I've heard stories, let me tell you. So don't think of these interviews as life or death or make or break. They're going to be mostly informal and conversational, and again, have no bearing on whether or not you get in. That being said, what should you do to prepare? Well, I would be ready to answer questions that are along the lines of, your stuff about your high school. What's your most significant accomplishment in high school that you're most proud of? Tell me about school generally. What classes are you taking? What do you like? What do you dislike? And then what do you think about majoring? And, sort of all those basic questions. And then what I would tell you also is to be prepared for them to say, do you have any questions for us? By the way, this goes for college interviews as well as internship and future interviews in the workforce. Do you have any questions for us? Do not say, nope, I'm good. Thanks. Or, no, I read it online. Or I saw it on Instagram. I think the best types of questions for you, the applicant, to be ready to proffer to your interviewer are along the lines of uh, outcomes, meaning, well, I'm thinking about majoring in microbiology. What do you know about the people who graduated last year with that same major? Who did the best in terms of outcomes, whether it's admission to grad school or jobs, etc.? Who didn't do so well? Who, how do I negatively model their behavior? Chances are your your interviewer is not going to be able to answer those types of questions, which is fine. But if maybe they majored in something that you're thinking about pursuing, then perhaps you could ask them questions along those lines. When you were thinking about majoring in X, what were your thoughts? What were some of the other types of majors you were thinking about? How would you say that your education at XYZ University was different than some of the peers that you graduated high school with who went off to other schools, etc.? So think about questions that have to do with outcomes and sort of high level questions, not, what'd you think about the cafeteria food? Or do I have to take a language, when I go there? Those types of questions can be answered just by, 5 to 10 minutes of research on the website. What you want to do is dig at other questions that can't be so easily answered. Well, I hope that this bit of advice is helpful to you. I would encourage you, if you did find this helpful, to like and subscribe wherever you are watching or listening to this, either on the podcast or YouTube or the TikTok or any of these other places, because then when I come out with something new, you won't miss out. And if you have any questions at all about getting help with the college application process, whether you're in 11th grade, 10th, or ninth grade, or even earlier, feel free to reach out to us on our website, lockwoodcollegeprep.com. There's a way to get in contact with us there. And thanks for listening and watching. Take care.